Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Way the Quiet Warrior radio show. As you can see, I am not Tom Dutta. So this week I am hosting for our Real News number 8, featuring the lovely and beautiful Anna Dutta, Tom Dutta's wife. So we have lots of questions, lots of things to talk about today. So yeah, right off the get-go, Anna is featured obviously in the screenplay, along with Tom, and she is going to be a producer as well in this film. And then also John Kitson, John Smith, John Kitson, JW Kitson, whatever you want to call him. He's also a producer, been writing the screenplay. But yeah, so basically we wanted to kind of dive right into this, and we have something that we want to share with you. This is the first time going out live into the public. This is kind of a concept trailer just to kind of get some ideas, get some things flowing with this film. So yeah, we want you guys to check out this short little concept trailer. And like I said before to these guys, like Samuel L. Jackson on Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts.
We're doing something here that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. We wanted the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. There'll be some epic music and things that'll be weaved in this. This film is all about making an impact and changing the planet in some way.
All right, awesome. So Anna, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you, Josh. And hello, John. I'm glad to be
Hi.
with you guys on this wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, so we definitely have heard a lot about you. This is our first face-to-face meeting via the internet, and also the first time hearing your voice. So it's good to chat with you. Like I said, we have a bunch of questions, bunch of things we want to ask you. Get deep dive into your relationship with Tom. Maybe not too far, but just to kind of hit some things.
Sure.
But yeah, so with with the success of The Way the Quiet Warrior with the book, how did you deal with the realization that Tom, as your husband, will be, his story is going to be made into the film? What was the realization, or talk a little bit about that?
Well, thanks you for sure. I think a lot of thinking went into it. I was thinking, first of all, it's just our life. Like, I didn't think it was all that, we lived it and whatever have you. But it's also, I had to get out of my way. Basically, I had to stop thinking about me and this is a story of Tom. And I realized it's a story that had to be told. And I realize also people go through journeys in life. So all our journeys are very, very different. And they're going to, in order to evolve and to move forward, and if they've had any challenges in their life, I think they all deal with it in different ways. And it came clear to me that his story had to be told. So it really was nothing to do with me per se, although we last more than 26 years now together. But when I went through it and I thought, well, really, it's not that big a deal. Why should, but I realize now it's more than just what a concept is, and that's not just sharing his life. I think it's there and it's a purpose, and I feel strongly now that he had to share it, and it's a good thing because I think it came with a lot of healing for him, and it's something he had to go through in order to get through to the point where he was when he started as a little boy to where he is as a grown, mature man.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So we're seeing that wedding picture from about 26 years ago.
Yes.
So, and I know we have some photos. So how was, what were some of the feelings that were going through your mind as you were reading the screenplay for the first time? And I believe we have some photos of the first time that you received that, and it was kind of a surprise, and just kind of talk to us a little bit about reading it for the first time.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's not something that just came up just in the last 6 months or a year. He was diligently working on it for 3 years now, and he was so consumed by it. I thought I hardly ever saw him sometimes. But when I started reading it, I didn't realize first how much life we actually lived together. And, you know, when I knew about his story, he told me about his childhood and whatever, through the challenges he had, and of course our challenges going through it. I forgot on how much life we've actually lived, and how much we've actually, it became surreal actually. Like now it's real. This is the real. We're here now, and there's no looking back. And like I said, I was very proud of him, first of all, because very few people would be that vulnerable to share those innermost challenges in life. And I think it's key to a lot. And there's few people that will do that, will show their vulnerability because of what judgment they may have or that sort of thing. But it's so key in helping others now to maybe step up. Like it might be that one step, because a lot of times it's not people we care that care about us. It may not be even our parents or siblings, bosses. We are all refrained, I think, in life to act and behave in a certain way. And I think this really said, no, this is my life, and here I am. And I'm very proud of him for doing that. And it was, like I said, it was like, I can't believe it. This is for real. You're actually doing a movie. So I'm really excited for him. But yeah.
Yeah. So as you were reading through the screenplay, obviously you've kind of lived, the past 26 years with Tom.
Yeah.
So going through the screenplay, kind of seeing some of the highlights and the low parts of the, your guys' journey. Specifically with Tom's journey, is there anything that really resonated deeply with you as you were kind of going through this, quick journey through his life, through the screenplay?
For sure, Josh. Perseverance. That to me is something that I think we all do in our own way. It may not be the same magnitude as others, but perseverance I really identified. For myself, I've experienced my own perseverance, but I think a lot looking back in my life. I came from Italy. I was born in Italy. My mom and dad immigrated with the three of us. And although, I'm an immigrant, I have an immigrant mentality. And although I'm not be a visible minority, I felt that growing up, that I was kind of like a minority, not necessarily for me, myself, but my father. I mean, when him and my mom came to, from Italy, they're 33 years old, 3 kids, 3 suitcases, and $300. My dad says 3 is his favorite number. And he landed a job in the second day that he arrived in Canada. And he was accosted at work. He was called, what they refer, it's this very slang Italian, a very derogatory term. And, he didn't speak a word of English, so he learned quite quickly. So he would come home, and I remember being little, and he was, I to see your dad be so vulnerable, like that really struck a chord in my heart. And I know he would talk to my mom, and if it wasn't for my mom, God bless her, she said, remember what we did. We came to this country to make a better life for ourselves. And we got to give it, because in the first year, he wanted to go back. He says, this isn't for us. We got to go back. And my mom said, Ascenzo, that's his name. We got to give it one more year. I promise you, if it's not better in 1 year, we'll go home. And slowly, and I saw him overcome day by day. He would take the bus to work, get up at 4 o'clock, come home at 6 o'clock, and work so hard for his family. And to me, he became kind of my mentor idol, one of my first, as well as my mom, because again, she had, not a word of English, looking after kids, trying to fit into this. So they both persevered. Even back further, of course, they persevered. My dad was out of the home at 9. He was a sheep herder in the Italian Alps, lived out in the mountains with them. They survived that, the depression, the Great Depression, the war. My dad was shot at twice, got actually hit, things like that, So in all of us children, I think it has a sense of strength, and, nothing takes you down. You just, you went one step at a time and we'll move forward. So with Tom, we're like akin to that, because although, like I said, our challenges and our journey is so different, he persevered. I mean, I always look back now and I think my life was actually blessed. I've had my challenges, and also too, because of that, I wasn't the typical little Italian girl that my mom wanted me to be. I was supposed to finish high school, get married, have children, and of course, dress in pretty dresses, and I was the tomboy. And my poor mom, I mean, she didn't know what to do with me. And I was very athletic. I was a jock. I was everything I was not supposed to be. And then after school, went into, I was actually given an award to attend university with a scholarship for volleyball. And although I didn't finish that way, I went into the business world. I just kind of fell into it. Business back today, it's different. It's kind of weird looking back. Again, it's surreal. Like, this is not the same. But when I was going through that, women, you're clerical. You were either a typist or, maybe the girl that handed out the cash in the front. So that, I had roadblocks put in front of me. And I just kept wanting more and wanting more. And challenges came across constantly. Being a female, I remember a human resources manager saying to me, well, Anna, if you are managing and you're not at home looking after your child, your baby, who's going to change the diapers? And, like today, when I think back of the challenges I had, and today, you'd be fired. I don't care what level you are, whether you're a CEO, an executive, you'd be fired. You can't talk to a woman today. And I just said, who's ever home with a baby, I guess changes the diapers. I didn't understand it. So with that, I continued on and had a very successful career in corporate business banking, which was uncalled for. Today, it's very common, and thank goodness. But I think that perseverance helped me achieve and get to the place where I am today. Long story short.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, that kind of goes right along with what I was thinking about asking you next. So, you're navigating the business world, and you're just trying to figure out as your voice as a woman, especially a few years ago, and it's definitely different how it is today. But through your experience and your upbringing, it just sounds like you just had this sense of, like you said, perseverance, and just keep wanting to dive deeper down and just not let anything, slow you down. So how do you kind of use that for basically your everyday life, and how to help women really find their identities? And there was a photo that Tom showed me before about the Tribe of Five. So just talk a little bit about the Tribe of Five and how you help women to find their identities.
Yeah, for sure. Again, through passions, and I think it's incremental in my life, but just because of the challenges and whatever. These are basically pictures of women that through my career, and I've had a phenomenal career in business and in my personal life, meeting various women internationally from all different women. And the bottom line is every woman is the same. Our customs may be different, our dress might be different, but we have the same role. Like, we're the nurturers, we're the ones that keep the glue to the family together. We're supporting others. Sometimes, we put others first before ourselves, but we're the glue of that. And so when I was out there in my various roles, so much so, again, and now when I look back, it was a journey, Josh, because it's step by step. That, little girl who says, no, I am not going to be that little girl with a pink dress, as much as my mom wanted, or, to get married, I'm blessed. I have 3 children. I got married. I'm so happy. That's a special thing a woman will always have. And until I became that woman, I would not have been able to share those experiences. So it kind of was a step by step into that place. So when I found women, and especially just through my career, I met women, of course. A lot of men, I was in leadership for many, many years, and they were reporting to me. And they shared their struggles with me because in their household, especially if you're from another part of the world, that women are very secondary to their husbands, and some of them have no voice whatsoever. And I thought it was incumbent to me you have to have a voice. You have to share that. You have to be the example to your children, both men, boys, and their daughters. Say, yes, you can. You can go further than I can. And I think it's step by step, generational by generation. And it was so compelling to me that I actually went back and took a coaching program and started, and my niche is women. Not because, I don't have advice for everyone, but that I understand their challenges. I understand what they have to go through. And I think you have to become from that place to really share your experiences to help them. And I think that's how it came about. That picture that I drew is really resonates with me, because I look at my mom, and my mom said to me years later, after when she gave up and she realized it was futile, Anna's not going to be my little girl that I wanted her to be. She said to me, she goes, I'm very proud of you. Mm-hmm. And she said, women in my generation didn't have that voice, and they didn't have the financial means. And so you are able to look after yourself and your children if need be. You don't have to stay in a relationship that if it's unhealthy for you, you have a choice. She goes, in my day, back, especially in the village where she lived from, women did not. So if they had an abusive husband, they had to live that life. And even when I was getting raised, it was called Little Italy in Vancouver. Even everybody that had these women that they, there was abuse and it was evident. The police back in the day called them up, and they would go, well, you should listen to your husband. You shouldn't upset him, that sort of thing. So to me, all of these challenges, and I think the film it resonates in that sense. Like our challenges are different, but it's that constant, yes, you can, step by step. And through the film, I think it's a wonderful, I can't wait till it all comes out in live, because it really depicts that perseverance and that challenge. And that's just my thing to that. So I'm like, I don't live in the past, so I forget what we've all gone through. But when you look back, and I think it's really good to look back at the film, because, wow, yeah, we did go through that. And we're here today. We're really actually not a bad place. Like, I can't believe it. At that time, you felt like you were drowning and you're going to succumb. But that constant perseverance, that, no, I can't let it go down, even though you felt given up many times. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for all of us to share if we can.
Yeah, those are definitely great points. And a lot of, with this film is climbing through the adversity and constantly going and never giving up. And so if you could share a little bit about, your faith in God to really just trust this process. You talked a lot about the different things, some of the struggles that you've faced. Just talk a little bit about your faith in God and how you've relied on him to really trust the process.
Well, I was raised Catholic. Okay, so God was always with me. I was baptized, the communion, the confirmation. We had to go to church and school every Sunday. But I do remember it was just about rules. And it wasn't till later in life, like the nuns, if you didn't, you're taking out the hosiery, so you have to put your tongue out a certain place for it. And if you didn't, you got the ruler smacked on your hand because you didn't have your hand out. And I remember when she turned around, I actually stuck my tongue right at her, and I thought, ooh. And I realized those are rules in the church. But by understanding God, that to me gives me great peace. He's he will never really, he'll always be there for us. He will always, whether it's your mentor, your whatever, it doesn't matter what challenges that we go to. So it has a big thing to do with life in general. And I believe in my faith. I've grown more as I matured, because now I realize, like everybody else, well, if he loved us, why did he have all these things happen to us? But because of that, and it's funny, it's usually people, when they have challenges, they get led back into their faith. So it's not something, I think I took a hiatus of maybe 15 years, 20. And then when challenge started rising again, you reach out to them again. And so then I started going back into my faith, and not just slowly. Tom, because I, was watching my religious show every morning, I saw Tom start taking an interest in it. And it came back. So now we both watch it. We both read our Bibles every day, and it helps us because even though life can be going okay, and I think it's really important to keep him with us, even when life is, in fact, more so when he's with it, and not just when it's challenges. And that's just a little picture of our, when we have our online church, because of course, COVID, this is what we light up every Sunday. That was this morning as we had our church online. But it's really brought back a reminder more than anything, be grateful. And be grateful, especially when times are good. I mean, not only when we're lacking, and because that's where everybody is at the time. And just to have that and know that he's constant, 24/7. Not everybody human can be there. And I think we share our innermost and some things that sometimes we can't share with one another just because you might be afraid of hurting their feelings or something like that. You keep it to yourself. But it's between me and God is the only other person that knows me 100%. And I think each of us have that relationship with him. And that helps us in our journey every day that we move forward.
I think that reading Psalm 139 is a really interesting one because of the fact that it, does talk about that, how God knows us so intimately, and that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Anna, you were making a very interesting point because I use this illustration with my students in school. My mom, in 1962, she was planning on getting married. And that was the mentality that you relied 100% upon the fact that you were going to get married and you were going to be taken care of and so forth and so on. And she was actually finishing college. She met my dad at a small community college and she was finishing that up. And there were 2 sections to the test and she passed the practicum part of the test, but she didn't pass the vocabulary section. And so they said, just come back and take the vocabulary section. Well, my mom just didn't feel that there was a need to do that because my dad was going to take care of that. And and here you are, a very independent person. And that's something I really wish that I would have seen in my mom. And I tried to portray that to my students, especially the female students. You need to be independent. You need to be strong-minded. You need to be educated and, supportive. So I'm glad that you said that because that's, to me, that is really important. So I can continue to relay that to the students. And as far as your faith is concerned, what you said, I thought was really good because what I'm hearing is that same famous line that Paul says, to be content with whatever the circumstances are. And you had to have been content in so many ways because when I was writing the screenplay, I was like thrown, aside as to like, wow, they have been through a lot in the 20 years that they, plus marriage, 20 years plus. And I was really taken back by that. But yet I thought to myself, Anna had to have had some contentment in there. Even though it was challenging, you had to have had some contentment. And I think that honestly has been one of the foundations as to why your marriage is just so strong and you're continuing on. So I just wanted to reiterate that if you don't mind. So
for sure, John, thank you. And you're right. We've had a wonderful, marriage. Actually, it was so much fun, so much like, life is highs and lows. And personally, I think complacency is the worst place you can be. So either you should be way up top of the mountain or down in the ditch. Like that's life. That's when it's really happening. And I think you're moving forward, right? So hopefully that it's not just because I think when you're complacent, you will be just, okay, well, that's okay. I don't have to worry about that. And you don't grow in that place. Right. And you're absolutely right, John. I think, and, I actually was puzzled in leadership when young women were coming. I'm thinking, okay, you're 20 years later, you guys should be up there. And how some of it, and I think it's just how it's been imprinted in our brain growing up. How many still think, oh, I can't wait till I get married and start my family, which is nothing wrong with that. I think as a woman, that is the biggest grace and God's favor we could possibly experience. However, that's not who you are because after our children leave us, which is really tough because we're in that empty nest thing, who are you? Like, this is our daughter where we dropped her off at university in New Brunswick her first year. And I was really happy, but so sad. And like, she's the baby. And of course, now we got our granddaughter, which I'm trying to relive through her. But, as a woman, as a man, you are independent of everything else, and like we have to answer to our God, right? That's where it comes down to. So as much as we love our partners and our children and whatever, it's still God's, thankfulness that I want to receive, and I hope that I try to work every day to walk in the path that He'd be proud of me. I don't always do such a good job, but we try, right?
No, I don't think anybody does. But there is a vast difference between being content about something versus just being complacent about it. Yeah. And so I like that, even though you were not complacent, but you were content, because you had a lot of challenges. I mean, that screenplay, as I was writing it, really just jumped out at me like, wow, I wonder what Anna was thinking at this time. How did Anna, how did she handle this? And so there is a vast difference between, just being content about the circumstances that you're in, that you can't change, but you're going to do the best that you can. It's kind of the old adage where they say, when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. Yeah, exactly. And but being complacent, I never saw that in your character. No. And I wanted to make sure I didn't put that in there. Yeah, and so we got that, we got that work through.
Thank you. I appreciate that, John. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing I kind of want to leave us with is this one last question. So, we've heard a little bit about the film, your involvement, and some of the story behind it. So why do you think anybody should really care about this film?
Well, again, I think it's imperative, to be honestly. Both Tom and I met in the, with one of the Canada's largest financial institutions, both in business. And I like our upbringing. You don't portray weakness. So my mom used to say when I was little, honey, you look at the houses from the street, you don't know what's behind those doors, because it all looks the same. Why they were painted green or yellow, brown, blue, the houses. But it's true. They, because we are conformed. And we are, we're almost acting this play. We're like actors on the stage all the time, whether it's for our parents, whether it's for our business. And sure enough, in business, it was sort of the same thing. Like, to talk about a vulnerability, that's a weakness. You don't show your underside to anybody. I got this, I'm tough, and whatever have you. And so because of the adversity, being in business, to be vulnerable in that way, you're going to worry about what your reputation is going to be like. So there are more in my career. I met more that were challenged than not in these ways. They had, like I said, different stories, but very challenged, but they would never, ever speak of it. And I think what happens, and it's, a really big concern, there's burnout somewhere. There's a finite where eventually something's going to happen. It could be like with Tom when he had, a reckoning, in the sense that when he got his concussion, he fell in the tub and split his head back. That came crumbling in. And all of a sudden now, he's now having to deal with the, how am I going to portray this? So I think for him to be vulnerable, to create the film, it's going to reach many, many people. And in fact, he's already had people reach out to him just in his book. I think some people are kind of surprised and saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Like, he did a TED talk on, mental illness. There's some people in that corporate world that they're shocked that he would do that, and they're also aware. A lot of them are those people that they won't dare speak about it. There's, I think, such a large percentage of our population that deal with this, but they're afraid to put their hand up. And I think this film requires them to say, it's okay. You're okay. You can put up your hand. It's not a weakness. In fact, it's a strength. And then I almost think it's a limb, a branch to reach out to somebody else. Come along. Because to each of us, when we have these, challenges in life, if someone can acknowledge that and they feel it's safe, they might want to take again that step out. So I think this film reaches so many people that would be afraid to acknowledge that they have those challenges. And I think it needs to go into businesses, into corporations. I know even in the business world now, it's opening up everywhere. Now they're actually dealing with people, with the CEOs that have had these challenges. But now it's being more and more okay. And it's like any abuse that's ever experienced, as people talk about it, then it becomes, okay, as a society, let's deal with it. And I'm hoping that through this film, society is going to say yes, and companies are going to say yes. And these people that are having those challenges that are so by themselves or keeping it into themselves will be able to say it's safe. I'm going to be able to come out because Tom did it, or whoever else.
You know, I think when you're writing a screenplay that reflects someone's life, one of the challenges that I saw was that you need something, it needs to be unique, but on the other hand, it needs to be somewhat universal.
Yeah.
And to me, that's always been the struggle when you're writing something that is in line with an actual person's life. And Tom and I connected, with Song of the Tree Frogs at the same time that, Quiet Warrior. And he said, I was like, when I was reading the very first chapter of Song of the Tree Frogs, I felt as though you and I had known each other because of that connection.
Yes.
But yet on the other hand, I think, once again, I feel that it appeals to a universal sense that we all have these tremendous struggles, but what makes it unique and interesting is the way in which individuals came into our lives or come into our lives on a daily basis or a yearly basis, who knows, but they come into our lives and we find out that it's like, wow, what did I learn from that? And I always jokingly say people that come into our lives are either a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah.
And, and I think that, it's been a blessing to us to get to know you guys, through this project. But on the other hand, you need to make it universal, but very unique. And I saw so many unique experiences in there, and your strength added to the whole situation with his, background and how it all just played together. Yeah. To me, I think it will appeal to a vast quantity of people in that sense, because you saw and he has seen how God has punctuated. He's had these vertical movements into your life, and he transcends space and time, and he has incorporated all of these different experiences, and they have made you guys extremely a unique couple and unique people. And once again, Psalm 139 says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And as a result of that, what exists in each one of us and in our experiences and in our minds is a million stories that need to be shared as often as we can do that. It's what makes us all real.
Absolutely, John. And it's so true. And it's only through experiences I've had in my life and listening to people, that's where you get it. And I agree with you. There's not one person that's been in my life that's been by accident. It's either to teach us, as you said, or to learn from. And my dear dad said before he passed, honey, we learn until the day we die. And he said that 2 weeks before he passed. And he says, I'm still learning. He was 90, right? So, and I agree with that. And I think you have to embrace it. And I think this film will definitely provide that, because it's going to show just regular people. And we're all just regular people and trying to do the best we can. And it gives hope for those who are not maybe able to be vocal about it or to express it, but maybe in time with these things, as more and more became the norm per se, it'll give encouragement to those that the film may be able to reach out to.
And I think that's what books and movies do. Sometimes they give the voice to the people that don't have one. And it gives them the boldness and confidence to be able to spring forward from there and say, look, if this person went through this, I can get through it as well. And so that's why I'm so, it's great to have this experience, to be able to talk with you directly about it.
Thank you, John. And I just want to say, I loved your book. I couldn't put it down. And I was like in there, even though I've never had those kind of personal experiences. I was there. I was those kids. I was those boys. And I wanted to kill that father. I was so like, I swear, I think I've read it in less than a day kind of thing. I couldn't put it down. Yeah, it was good. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Great. Well, we had that was fantastic. Wow,
Well,
so much
thank you,
information
Thomas.
there and so much insight. Yeah, it's great. It's finally getting to speak with you face to face.
Thank you.
And thanks, John, for all your input as well.
Yes.
But yeah, that's basically going to wrap up this episode. Thanks again for taking the time out to chat with us, to
Thank
go a
you.
little bit into the personal life of things and some of the things that you've done with, defining your identity and finding a voice for women. And just thanks again for talking about the film and a little bit of what people can expect. So until we meet again, and hopefully the next time we meet will be face to face. But yeah, stay tuned for more. There's lots of different shows and different ideas that we have coming forward. So thanks again for tuning into the Quiet Warrior Show.
Thanks,
God
everyone.
Bless. God bless.
God bless.
We're doing something here that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. We wanted the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. There'll be some epic music and things that'll be weaved in this.
This film is all about making an impact and changing the planet in some way.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca